Tenemos 3 preguntas más, un poquito más breves. Espero que tengan paciencia todavía. Esta pregunta de alguna forma aterriza muchas de las ideas que estuviste compartiéndonos a lo largo de tu plática. Dice, ya que la moralidad, el estándar de moralidad que tiene el ejército israelí representa riesgos muy altos para los soldados, Israel debería de continuar con estos esfuerzos a pesar de que hasta hoy en día no han dado frutos, a pesar de que hoy en día la gente, los medios siguen interpretando que Israel es un ejército sin estos estándares. ¿Vale la pena continuar con estos esfuerzos?
I love putting these headsets on while you're applauding because it makes the applause even louder. Fantastic. I'm very vain, sorry. But I mean, you know, the Colonel here will, I think, probably be able to provide more detail than I can, but I'm certainly aware of occasions when, by restraining themselves in the way they do, and not carrying out the full force of attack they could, Israeli soldiers have died. And actually the same is true in the British forces where we've been conducting operations, for example, in Afghanistan. Our restraint has also led to British soldiers dying, and in Northern Ireland and other places. But certainly it's true in Israel. I believe also Israeli civilians have died as a consequence of Israeli restraint. In the last conflict in Gaza, Israel could have annihilated Hamas. Very, very easily, Israel could have annihilated Hamas. Had it done so, many, many more civilians would have died than died already. I think my answer to the question really is Israel's right to operate in the way it operates, even if it does sometimes mean, tragically, that our own people get killed in the process. Because there are the laws of war. The laws of war, for any moral democracy, have to be adhered to. They have to be adhered to. You can't defend yourself. You can't accuse your enemy of being criminals, of being terrorists, if you yourself don't follow the laws of war as closely as you possibly can. And the other factor that I think we should consider, that people often forget about actually, is, you know, it's easy for us to sit in our armchairs or in our air-conditioned offices, whether it's in Mexico City or in London or even in the Ministry of Defense in Tel Aviv, whatever it might be. It's easy for us to sit around and say, yeah, we should go and just kill a lot of them. But think who's got to do that. Think who's got to do that. Your sons and daughters, or the sons and daughters of Israelis who've got to do that. They're the ones who've got to go, and some of them might be prepared to do so. But it does have a very, very, very bad effect on your psychology if you're going out and massacring innocent civilians and you know you're doing it and you know it's illegal to do it. Very, very bad effect. And if you go back to the first Gulf War in 1991, one of the reasons that the US-led coalition didn't go right the way to Baghdad and get rid of Saddam Hussein is because US pilots were flying down rows and rows of retreating Iraqi tanks and trucks full of troops and strafing them and firing missiles into them and killing them by the dozen, by the hundred. And it became a Turkish issue. And the pilots were not happy doing it. The pilots were not happy because it was just like killing people who were defenseless. It was legal, but it was damaging. So I think for those reasons, for the reasons of the dignity and the morality of the state and the protection of the morality of the individual soldier, we can't be SS, we can't be the Waffen-SS, we can't be the Gestapo, we have to be the IDF, the British Army, whatever it is, we have to adhere to these laws.
¿Tiene o no una solución el conflicto entre Gaza e Israel y en general el conflicto del Medio Oriente?
Not. I will be brief because I appreciate we've gone on. In my opinion, and I know I'm probably not in a majority saying this, I do not believe there is any prospect of peace between Israel and the Palestinians. I don't think it's likely to happen, I don't think it can happen, and there are two main reasons for that. The first one is, as I said before, the Palestinians do not want peace with Israel. And I'm talking again about the Palestinian leadership and any future Palestinian leadership that can be envisaged. So I don't think it's possible for that reason. It takes two to make peace. And the second thing is, for peace to happen, a Palestinian state has to be established. It has to be established in Judea and Samaria. I have to say Judea and Samaria because there are Israelis present. If I say the West Bank, I get told off. Even though I find it easier to say the West Bank than Judea and Samaria, but I'll say Judea and Samaria. But there has to be a state there and in Gaza. And therefore, the IDF has to withdraw from it. Now, we've seen what happened when the IDF withdrew from Gaza. And we've seen Gaza was then used as a base to attack Israel. If you can imagine the IDF withdrawing from Judea and Samaria, and the consequences, the military consequences of an attack, or a series of attacks from there into Israel, are catastrophic compared to Gaza. They would render the country inoperable. And let's say, for the sake of argument, something that could happen that I don't think will happen, which is that the Palestinians came to a peace agreement and themselves did not want to continue the conflict with Israel. Look at the Middle East. Do you think for a moment they would be allowed to simply live there in peace with Israel? No, of course they wouldn't. Already, Gaza, the Sinai, the West Bank, beg your pardon, JNS, are being infiltrated by the Islamic State. Do you think Iran would stand for it? Whenever Hamas falter, and Palestinians haven't had falter in any way in their assaults on Israel, Iran go and give them a kick. They send a heavy from Hezbollah down in Lebanon, they send them to have a word. Iran isn't going to tolerate that. And therefore the IDF can't withdraw from Gaza, from Judea and Samaria, because if it did, you'd have another Islamic state there, which would pose a massive threat to Israel. That's my answer, I'm afraid. There's no prospect of peace between Israel and the Palestinians. And I don't see that necessarily as being catastrophic. It would be nice if there could be. It would be good if there could be. But Israel is the most resilient country in the world. Israel can withstand what it's getting now. I don't say that lightly because it's not pleasant living in Sderot and going into a shelter quite frequently. It's not pleasant knowing this. But if you look at some of these surveys, the opinion polls that have taken place recently, Israel is still one of the happiest countries on this planet, and is still one of the most ingenious, and one of the countries that contributes more than any other to the future and the development of this world. So I don't think it is catastrophic if this does continue as it is now. And the second question, is there a prospect of peace in the Middle East? I'm going to just say one word, no.
Para finalizar, la pregunta es, como jóvenes y como comunidad, ¿qué tipo de esfuerzos podemos hacer para contribuir a esta causa, para contribuir a la imagen que tiene Israel en el mundo? Y lo hemos platicado y creo que conoces el movimiento Asbará. ¿Crees que esto funciona? ¿Deberíamos de mantener estos esfuerzos? En general, ¿qué podemos hacer?
Well, I think to an extent I've already made a comment about what we can do practically in terms of the Hasbara effort. But I would just I've said this before, I'll just reinforce it, that what we can do, if we're young people, and old Andy there is, I don't know, he's not that young, but he's reasonably young. But as young people, what can we do? We can go and join the IDF, and we can reinforce the IDF, and even if it's just for a couple of years, we can make the direct contribution to the IDF. And if we don't want to do that, as I've said before, I think I mentioned before, we can support this wonderful organisation that I can't name because my Spanish is so lacking. We can support it with everything, whether it's practical help or financial help. But thank you very much. It's been a real honour and a privilege speaking to you.